Family and friends of a Metro Atlanta man killed by an off-duty Atlanta police officer in Buckhead are demanding justice. 44-year-old Linton Blackwell was shot in a parking lot behind a bar on October 11th. Tonight, an autopsy report reveals Blackwell was shot 17 times and nearly every single bullet hit him in the back.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Car to Car. I'm Ramón.
And hi, I'm Dana.
On today's episode, we'll talk about an off-duty Atlanta police officer who shot a black male by the name of Linton Blackwell 17 times in the back at a Bankhead bar. Dana, what are your thoughts?
Well, on the information that has been released, I cannot see how this shooting is justified. The Fulton County medical examiner said that pretty much all 17 shots were in the back. So I don't see how a person can be in fear for their life if all 17 shots are in the back. And I don't understand why 17 shots in the back.
Agreed.
One or two, maybe to stop the threat, assess and see. But so I don't understand how. I understand Mr. Blackwell went to his car possibly to retrieve a gun, but the information that's released saying that he put it in the small of his back, and then the officer gave commands and started firing soon thereafter. So, I mean, once you give commands, you really have to allow the person to enact your command, whether it's to drop the gun or whatever. But it just seems incredulous, this amount of shots and just where they're all located. So I just don't understand.
Yeah, this is very confusing to me as well. When I looked at it as well, it just seems like there's some untruths going on. I won't say that the department's lying, but the witness accounts that's out there. So let me go back. I'm gonna put on my IA homicide hat. Since I was an IA homicide and in body-worn camera, so I'm gonna put all these hats on. So a lot of the questions that I would ask if I'm internal affairs or homicide is, first of all, I know our department don't like officers working directly at a bar, which I'm sure most police departments are the same way. So the initial report is that the officer was working in the area. But the contradiction is that Mr. Blackwell and his friend were frisked earlier at the door, and Officer Blackwell asked, not Officer Blackwell, the officer asked Mr. Blackwell, hey, are we going to be good tonight? Everything going to be all right? And so then he went inside. So apparently they knew each other, or they've had some sort of encounter before. And
it seems that the officer was actually working for the bar, for 5 paces.
For 5 paces, the bar, exactly. So I'm going to question, again, from my IA homicide hat, the number of bar patrons versus the number of off-duty officers. I'm going to question the number of shots versus where they were found. If a gun was in fact found, why the vehicle was released after a couple of hours. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to ask, hey, listen, why is this officer even being allowed to work off duty if he has all these body-worn camera violations that were sustained in the last 2 years? He had, I think, 6. And so, there's a lot of discrepancies that's going on here. And so all it's really doing is continuing the path and the course of losing community trust. Accountability starts with transparency. So I think, a lot of times the police department or the state attorney or the DA don't want to release the footage. I think you can release the footage to the family only. Bring the family in, say, listen, we're trying to be transparent here. This is what we saw. So apparently there was a lot of cameras in the area and things of that nature. So I think that you can release that information to maybe a parent, or if it's a wife or a significant other, or some adult kids, so whoever is um, the immediate person, the next of kin. So I just see a lot of holes in this case, and so I'm eating this case alive if I'm IA or homicide, because I just see a lot of holes, and I know that the police department is going to try to curb their liability by not
No, I
allowing.
don't see how they're going to curb it. 17 shots in the back. They did say they recovered a gun on the scene. Where was the gun? The information was that he put it in the small of his back. Did he take it out, pointed at the officer? So, so he for him to feel threatened, but it's all in the back. So I don't
Yeah,
see how any of those things could have occurred. And Georgia's an open carry state. So when they say a gun is recovered, I mean, you should almost expect guns to be everywhere too. So officers need to work in an environment where guns are on the scene. Um, so you shouldn't feel so threatened. Obviously, still use your training and things like that. But if guns are theoretically allowed to be everywhere, if everyone has the correct credentials, the fact that a gun is on the scene shouldn't necessarily put you in fear of your life. So that to me, when they say, "Oh, a gun was recovered," okay, well, what was the gun doing at the time of the shooting?
I agree. I agree. You're absolutely right. And so we do have to consider this, because I think only 5 states out of 50, so it's 45 states, have open carry. I remember we went to, because we visit Atlanta a lot, we went to a what is a Chinese food restaurant, and I saw someone with
Yeah,
a gun on his hip, and I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know Georgia was an open carry state.
yeah,
So you do have to put yourself in the mind frame of, okay, people are allowed to carry guns, citizens are allowed to carry guns, and so as a police officer, that has to be okay. Let me let me give verbal commands. If the verbal commands don't stop, if this person's still trying to go in the bar, let me follow them into the bar. Let me call for backup. Things that your training would dictate, and it just seems like right now that training wasn't dictated. And I will say a couple of things too. Uh, Citizens, um, we got to practice dispute resolution. We got to be able to have a dispute with someone or be mad and not want to kill someone or do harm. And one thing that I learned too is that, especially in the black community, if you go to the car, you're going to get a gun.
yeah. Of course,
So
absolutely.
so I don't doubt that maybe the victim went to get a gun, because that's an assumption in our community. So that goes back to the dispute resolution. And again, we got to release this video for transparency. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you mentioned too, the officer who was hired in 2023 and he's already had all these violations, he is definitely showing that he's a problem. He's showing that he's
I
a
agree.
problem. 2023 and it's in a 2025, it's a problem. That's a lot in a small period of time.
Yeah, for
And he
sure.
was on their they call it active reckoning list, which is almost like a early warning list. So they were already looking at him, and so obviously his actions are escalating, have escalated. So,
Yeah, we're
but
gonna have to do a better job you know of making sure that um, we challenge some of the things that are in the contracts, because I'm sure the policy violations don't stop someone from working off duty, but that's something that need to be written into the contract. Hey, listen, if you got all of these different policy violations, uh, you know, which says something, it does say something when you have certain policy violations, that behaviors or freedoms need to be curtailed. An off
yeah,
duties like a driver's license, it's a privilege. It's not a right, and so off duties are a privilege, and so it has to be treated like that. And I think that if this person continues to violate policy, or any police officer violates policy, we got to change how we allow them to interact with the police. I mean, with the community.
oh for sure, for sure. And discipline is a form of behavior modification.
It is.
So that definitely is a instance that a tool that probably should have been used in his case because, like I say, it's a lot of violations in a short period of time. So he needed some corrective actions.
He
So
did. He did. That's all I have.
that's all I have as well. So thank you for watching another episode of Car to Car Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
And until next
Until
time.
next time.